What's going on, everybody? It's Wednesday, May 24th, 2023, Daily Log episode number 8, volume 2. Today we're going to cover ES and the trade that I took today, and a couple of things that I outlined throughout the Telegram. If you've been following along, and off the backbone of yesterday's Daily Log, what we are forecasting in price. So looking at the daily time frame here on ES, I annotated how I didn't see bullish prices at all. I was looking for lower prices in here today, and that was due to a few reasons. I mentioned how there was a bullish order block in here, and then this fair value gap I was looking at as an inversion level, which you can see here we opened, traded a little bit higher above in here, and then we collapsed lower, running out the sell side at 41.20. Unfortunately, we did not get 41.12, which is what I was looking for today. I'll show the trade that I took. It didn't pan out the way I wanted it. That's okay. It happens sometimes. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know what price wants to do currently. I think we're in a really weird situation on a daily time frame and with the other correlated assets. I don't know. And the reason I'm saying that is because today on the close, we got this large movement higher. And it was something that I was not expecting. And it was something that kind of throws a wrench in at least the way I'm looking at the market currently, because I wanted to see, at least the way we were trading towards the end of the day up until basically the last hour, I wanted to see a full bodily closure bearish candle, because to me that would indicate that we would be continuously going lower in here, which is good. I would want to see the sell side taken and us drop lower, meet the volume imbalance, meet the discount fair value gap, and just seek lower prices. But if you look at the other assets, if you look at NQ, you look at YM, you look at dollar, just those strictly closely related assets, they're so decoupled on the daily time frame. It really makes me weary of price, and it makes me weary of what ES wants to do. And I'm concerned that price could either be thrown back into consolidation, we could be thrown back into sideways movement. And I hate to say that, but we're back inside of this range. It's not something that I wanted to see. Obviously, we have to work with what we got, but ultimately, coming off of this week on Sunday, I wanted to see higher prices. The reason being is I wanted to get out of this range. I don't want to be anywhere near this. Every time we keep falling back into this range, we stay in it, and it's not good. We could stay inside of this for another week, and I don't want to see that. It's extremely tough conditions. I'd rather see large movements away from this and support that for weeks on end and months on end to support that, okay, we're finally away from this range. We just keep falling back into it, and it's not good. It's a seek and destroy profile on a higher time frame. You can see in here where running out buy stops, running out sell stops, buy stops, sell stops, buy stops, sell stops. And it's over and over and over again. And it makes it extremely difficult to find a narrative and stick with it and have an easy one-sided trade idea. And when I'm looking at NQ and I'm looking at YM is making lower lows, NQ's tore off higher, and ES is stagnant with the dollar going higher. So nothing is supporting any analysis. I could see it going higher, I could see it going lower. And it sucks to say that, but it's the truth. And in these conditions, it's simply, I have to wait for further information, especially on a daily time frame. What that creates is you have to be very, very nimble. You have to be very careful, and you have to be very scalp minded, where you're looking for 5 handles, and that's it. That's what I'm looking at right now, because I don't see anything further than that. Until something really proves itself, I can't find a direction. And I see a fair value gap up here with a bearish order block, but I would rather a price just continue lower. We now have relative equal lows in here. I would like for price to continue lower. That would be nice. When I'm looking at, let's zoom out to a weekly time frame in here. We're still trading sideways. This has been weeks on end where we've been consolidating. And to me, if I had to picture the weekly close, I would like this to close lower and this create a bearish order block, and then us trend lower and attack the relative equal lows and attack sell side in here. That would be what I would prefer, but I don't know if we're going to get that, because I could see higher prices in here. I don't see a determining factor for that, but we're in such a weird condition where we could, just trend higher in here without really any basically confirmation of that. So I just want to make note of that, make you guys aware of what we're dealing with here. It's not something that you can just pick a side and really be confident in. I hope you understand that. So looking at the 4-hour time frame, we dropped lower into the sell side here at 41.20. Again, we weren't able to get 41.12. That's what I was really, really looking for today. We unfortunately did not get that. We have this fair value gap in here, inversion level that you can extend out in time. To me, if we close above this, it's going to create really problematic conditions for us personally, because if we close above this, I don't really find a reason. I'd rather this stay open. I'd rather this fair value gap stay open, because if we come up into this premium, guess what's right above us? We have buy side resting right above us, and I can make the case just as easily that we could run for buy side. So do you see how in these conditions it's really problematic? I need something to pick a side and go for it. So just be note of that. We closed above this 4-hour Sibian here. There's a small one resting above it that we did utilize. Even today, the opening, looking at the open, looking at the market close, all of those are telltales. Like tomorrow is going to be a carnival ride for price. And I'm not looking forward to that. We have GDP numbers 1 hour before the open. I'm not going to be trading that. I'm not going to be trading the first 30 minutes of the open. I'm going to be waiting for the silver bullet hour and may not even place a trade tomorrow. I really don't know what the conditions are going to unfold tomorrow. I think it's going to be very volatile and very manipulated tomorrow. You can already tell coming into a new day how the market closed and how it opened. Those two right there are already telling you that the next day is going to be manipulated off the backbone of the daily time frame, off of the news event drivers. There's already a whole bunch of telltales that tomorrow is going to be manipulated. So you have to be very, very careful. 1 hour time frame in here. All overnight, we kind of just trended lower, a little bit softer in here into the sell side in the morning. There wasn't any setups in the morning session where it probed me to go short into the sell side. I think we were too deep into a discount without any really returns into any short-term premiums for me to go short. So I just elected to sit out. If we dig down into a 15-minute time frame, I think this was interesting how we utilized, remember this for value gap yesterday, use that as an inversion level after we drop beneath it. So this is all overnight. If you have large movements overnight, expect the morning session to be choppy, expect it to not have much movement in it. And you saw that. So we want to use that, just the premium in there. We displace lower. And if you look in here, we have a high, a low, a higher high, then a lower low. So this becomes your bearish breaker. If you extend that out in time, what's resting inside of it? What's resting inside of it is a 15-minute SIBI. So right in here, basically meeting the mean threshold of that bearish breaker. So before the open, this is even before really pre-market, dug up into there, and then we displaced lower. And even on the open, there wasn't anything for me that was fruitful for me to engage with the market. So in these conditions, like I said, even if you know the draw on liquidity, even if you know, quote unquote, where price is going, it doesn't mean much if you don't have a model or vehicle to get into it. And it doesn't mean that your model is broken or you should, try to change something in your strategy. It just simply means that there's no trade. And that's displaying discipline and it's exercising patience. And that's a skill set that you have to learn and you have to improve upon if you're struggling with it. So displace lower in here. If I dig into, there's really nothing on a 5-minute time frame. The only really things that I could see to annotate is on a 1 minute coming into the AM session here. So focus on 41.20, which is up here, 41.20. I don't have it. Oh, there it is. So 41.20, that was the first draw on liquidity. I annotated this. If you look at the timestamp on Telegram, it was somewhere in here about 6 in the morning. It was just when I first woke up, I took a look at TradingView and I said we were likely to draw towards 41.20 today, which we did. We gravitated towards that. If you look at the 1 minute time frame, right on the open, we displaced lower in here with the small per bag gap, bear shorter block, traded up into it. None of this is my entry pattern. On a 1 minute, I need more confluences. We displaced lower in here, small per bag gap in here. displaced lower again, and we traced up into this premium in here. I was watching it, but I just elected to sit out of it. I'm not going to try to really chase this. And if you look at really the risk to reward, down to the sell side is about 9 handles. So I was willing to just sit it out. I'm not trying to chase something that's moved this deep into a discount without any short-term premium retracements. You can see in there wasn't any short-term premium retracements, which is what I was looking for. And I'll explain how, even though we were in a deep discount and I took the trade in the afternoon, we retraced up into a short-term premium. So it was allowing me to have the confirmation that we returned into a short-term premium. I'll touch on it, how we took out buy stops. But I just want to annotate how after you take out sell side like this, where you have a draw on liquidity, I annotated how your trade, if you were inside of one, let's say you were shorting from that breaker up there or even in here, you need to pull out partials or fully protect yourself, because if you don't, it's going to return on you and you're going to have, yourself stopped out of break even, or, not paying yourself. And I think that's the most important part in these conditions, is paying yourself, because you work hard for it. So let me touch on the afternoon session trade. And in here, this was coming into lunch hour, and I was actually away from the charts at this time. But if you plot the new week opening gap in here, there's a small 5-minute fair value gap that before the open, I wanted to see if price could dig up into here, and I was willing to go short in here because this was a short-term premium. Never got that. And then we had this really fast displacement up into here, where if you look at a 15-minute time frame, we had 2 SIBIs in here. We had a SIBI here and then a higher one inside of a premium as well that we tagged. So I think this is a really good shorting opportunity. I was just not here at the market at this time, and that will happen. It's really not my particular hour of trading, but I think it's still very valid. I think that was the best point of interest today. It just happened really quickly, and I was not expecting, after how sloppy the AM session, I was not expecting this volatile movement higher out of nowhere. And we already met 41.20. I still had in my mind 41.12. I really wanted to get that today, but I'll cover we did not. So let me dig into the afternoon session. I actually took a trade. This was coming into lunch hour, which is, again, not my typical hour of trading, but there's a macro from 10:50 my time to 11:10 where price can come into the lunch hour and run for a draw on liquidity, which I was looking for, and unfortunately I didn't get it. Let me dig into, I want to first annotate this BISI, which became an inversion level. And you'll see in here how I was close to getting stopped out, but I was looking at this and using it as confluence to understand where price should respect. And if it didn't, then I will collapse the trade. So if I dig into a 1-minute time frame in here, let me dig in actually into a 2-minute. So this is my model number 2, where you're taking out internal buy-side liquidity. You're taking out internal buy-side liquidity. You're returning into a short-term premium. You have the higher time frame point of interest. So we had that higher time frame fair value gap up here. We displaced away from it. Price is utilizing bearish PD arrays. If you looked at this inversion fair value gap in here, we're utilizing that. If you drop down into a 1-minute time frame, there was a small fair value gap here coupled with a bearish order block, which is another nice point of interest, or at least an entry. And again, I was not here at the time. I got out of the charts right about at this time when I saw this displacement lower. And I was looking at these relative weak lows in here, and I was looking at 41.20. I really thought we were going to get into that today. And then I was looking for a reversal out of here. So that was a really nice entry up here. This is another entry that you could have had. And then my entry was in here where price displaced lower. We had a fair value gap on the 1-minute here. Let me go over to a 2-minute. We had a 2-minute in here as well. We had a 3-minute resting inside of there. I still have the annotation on. We had a 4-minute resting in there. And then I had the 5-minute inversion for value gap as another point of interest as well. So I'll show my entry. I entered in here. My stop loss was above that high and right above the 5-minute inversion level. And in here, let me actually just pull it up just so we're all clear here. So this is where I entered in here. It was not the perfect entry that I wanted, but I was expecting really fast prices because we were displacing very, very quickly in here and it was showing a lot of speed. And I thought we could really just dump into 41.20 or 41.12, and then we could see this reversal out of here. So in here, I closed out half of my position because I was sitting in this position for way too long. At this point in time, it came back to basically break even. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take off half here just to protect myself if this thing reverses and I'm wrong, then it is what it is. We displaced underneath the relative equal lows in here. I was up about 5 handles, so I took another partial and I had one more runner on to 41.20 down here, or 41.12, I'm sorry. And we ultimately never got that. And it came back to break even and I was stopped out. So I took one more trade in here in the afternoon and I'll show that. It was about a 2-point loss in here. I was looking for a PM session silver bullet to run to 41.12. Never got that as well. So it is what it is. But you can see in here how I was able to manage a position where I was sitting in it for too long, in my opinion. It was too long for my liking. And I would rather take off half of the position where I'm not losing anything and I can protect myself. And if it does run, then I was able to catch something. And I was able to pull off at least 5 handles partial, and now stopped at a break even. Like I said, I was really looking for 41.12, but never got it. If we pull over to the PM session silver bullet, so let me see in here. This is the silver bullet hour. And if you look here, there was a 5-minute for value gap. And it's actually a balanced price range in here. So what I saw is we took out sell side and then we created relative equal lows in here and we returned it to a short-term premium. Again, this is the rejection block in here. This up close candle in here, if you extend out that open price, that's your rejection block. So I'm just reading how price returned into a short-term premium again. We created relative equal lows. My overall draw was 41.12. Silver bullet. I'm looking for this 5-minute for value gap. I just want to see if we could IOFED it and then displace lower into the sell side liquidity. And all within that, there's a 4-minute, there's a 3-minute, there's a 2-minute, and then there's a 1-minute, which I was aware this is low probability. And the reason it was low probability is because we've been stuck inside of a range. We've been just trending sideways. So that's another reason why you can deem setups or entry patterns as lower probability is if you've been trending sideways, and we were. So I ultimately got stopped out. It was only about a 2-handle loss in here. So I was comfortable with the risk. It was a great risk reward. I was risking about 2 handles to target almost 10 if I could get 41.12, which I was looking for. I was expecting this larger movement higher if we were able to tag at least even the sell side in here or 41.12. And once I was stopped out, price just immediately reverted. And you can see these large swings, even on the market close, even after silver bullet, there's large movements in here. And then right on the open, we're having these large movements right back to the new week opening gap in here. And then we displaced higher. So it was a lot of movement on the PM session and on the market close. And to me, that's not a good sign coming into tomorrow. I'm very unsure of what price is going to do. We have a new day opening gap coupled with 2 new week opening gaps as well. So I'm just not sure where price wants to go right now, to be honest with you. I would prefer downside. It would make the most sense to me, especially with dollar trending higher. But I could make the case that for some reason price could go higher out of nowhere, just because I understand how manipulated the market is right now. So hopefully that helped with ES today. Let me just touch on the dollar really quickly. So it looks like in here, we've reached into the premium for value gap. We have a small balanced price range in here, so we can look for that as well. If we close above this, then my eye would go towards the high here and then that volume imbalance there. So like I said, the market's it's very, very conflicted right now because dollar's screaming higher, but ES is really not wanting to drop lower. NQ's not wanting to drop lower. Dow's going lower, but it's all decoupled. So it makes having a firm analysis very, very difficult for me. So I would be very wary of price. I don't see the sell side anymore as even a viable opportunity right now. It's too far away. We're too deep into a premium now. I would look for higher prices, honestly. That's what I'd be looking for on dollar because here we're just screaming higher. So we'll have to see what happens tomorrow. Just beware of price. Let me just touch on the account real quick. We took less than basically a 0.1% loss today. So let me scroll down to here. So you can see this was the partial 5 handles, 185. And then I took that 2-handle loss, or basically 3-handle loss for 518. So negative $300 for the day. It means absolutely nothing to me. And that's going to be it for today. Until tomorrow, good luck and good trading, everybody. Be safe.